again, we're out here on hole number 14 and we've reached some incredible milestones over the course of the last couple of weeks with our first rounds of sod and then seed on our greens and fairways. So yeah, today I thought we'd talk a little bit about that process and turf types and what members can expect to see now from here on out as the golf course really starts to come to life. So why don't we start up here by the green, talk to us about the process to get us to what we're seeing behind us now.
So we actually begin each green surface by sodding the immediate areas nearby. So you'll see all the bunker faces get sodded. We sod the green surround out to where we have the different types of turfs. We make evaluations whether or not we're gonna continue with sod in some of the fine turf areas, if there's really steep banks or prone to washouts, or just go ahead and utilize seed. So we sod the surrounds. Once the surrounds are sodded, then we could go ahead and seed the surface, the green surface itself. That process, we've had videos on that before, but I thought it'd be a good opportunity just to talk about the two types of bentgrass that we're utilizing on all of our fine turf areas. We're using two cultivars, 007 XL as well as McDonald's. We've been in works with a lot of experts across the country. We've actually had several different grass cultivars on site over the past 2 years growing, and we feel like we've picked the two best for our specific growing environment here. Some aspects that we were looking for, it's kind of funny, there's a lot of heavy agronomic terms, but what they mean is for the golfer is something completely different. We selected these two cultivars because less thatch production. Less thatch production means firmer golf surfaces. It has more disease resistance. And so what that means to the golfer is they're gonna see the sprayer less out onto the golf course. We chose cultivars that are really good against wear resistance. So when we subject the grass to low mowing heights or a lot of rolling in efforts to speed up greens, these cultivars can handle that wear better than some of their peers. Finally, we also chose some cultivars that have an early spring green up. And so what that means is they're gonna be growing faster earlier in the season as well as late in the season, which we think is very important here in Minnesota.
Yeah, it's incredible. I recall from some of our conversations with the USGA, the USGA was even surprised by the number of different cultivars and tests we ran here on site to pick the best possible turf type for our growing environment and the playing conditions we're striving for. That covers us up here on the green. We're already starting to see some grass peeking through. Now maybe let's head up the fairway a little bit and talk about the fairway seeding process and how we're gonna tackle the rough here this fall. All right, we've made our way up to 14 fairway bunker here, the double donut bunker making a return from Donald Ross's original design. But what we wanna talk about here is the fairway grass that, you know, Brian, I just think is incredible. Same turf obviously as we see on the greens, but germination already starting just a week after seeding. So talk to us about this process. Again, you know, same type of turf, but a little bit different seeding process. So how do we do that?
So the green seeding, we're actually using walk behind spreaders. But once we size up to the acreage that our fairways are, which is gonna be 36 acres, we need some bigger tools. And so we utilize tools that will actually make slits in the existing canopy and then drop the seed right in that slit, cover it back up, and then it provides a perfect growing environment for us to start these seedlings up. It holds on to moisture really well, and we're seeing very good success with that method. So we have all the same cultivars on the fine turf surfaces, the greens, the tees, and the fairways, but in the roughs, we take a little bit of a different approach. Our first cut of rough is gonna be a solid stand of low-mow Kentucky bluegrass. So that's that ring of grass directly outside of the bentgrass fairways. We have a single cultivar here because we want that really crisp contrast between the medium green texture of the bentgrass to a real dark Kentucky bluegrass. This cultivar is actually called Blue Note. Outside of that first cut of rough, then we use a mixture of grasses, which is HGT grass, a blend of different Kentucky bluegrasses, but then we also sprinkle in fine fescues. The fine fescues will help out in a little bit more shady conditions. In sunnier areas, the Kentucky bluegrasses are gonna take over. Then, once we transition to the bunker slope, all of the bunker slopes are fine fescues. We've mentioned before, they're our most difficult area to keep alive. We selected species of grasses that, once established, do a great job. They require less moisture, and overall is going to provide us a great contrast between the bunker sand. So we have Kentucky bluegrasses in the first cut, we have fine fescues on the bunker faces, and the roughs get a combination of both. Beyond the areas that we sodded in the rough, we are going to target additional grass seed that is going to be a mix of this Kentucky bluegrass and fescue, so that we, in essence, will overseed all of the roughs on property.
Well, a lot of thought and consideration into how this first cut and fescue grass around the bunkers blends in with the rough. I think just the aesthetics of the golf course are going to be incredible. Maybe last question before we wrap up. There's been obviously top of everybody's mind is timeline and where we're at, and from what I understand, we're right on pace here with seeding the golf course. Our greens will be seeded by the end of August, and I know some work may be happening kind of into the first part of September. Was always part of the plan.
Absolutely, yeah. Basically, we can place seed into the ground up until September 15th, and we believe that we're going to be getting a pretty good catch. There might be some tees that still are left to be completed, but we still have 3 acres of sod grown in Wisconsin. Always plan for some of these late arrival items that are going to be constructed onto the golf course, as well as maybe some touching up of any washouts that you see on fairways or any of the green surrounds.
Excellent. Well, really dynamic process out here in the field, particularly as we start growing grass. And so big kudos to you and your team for all your efforts to keep us on track here. And it'll be really exciting to watch the golf course take shape and green up here this fall.